this special sit-down, Anthony E. Parent, founding partner of IRS Medic, answers your tax questions.
Can you tell me about FBAR and how parent-parent helps dual citizens?
This is about a form known as the FBAR. The FBAR form is a form required to be filed if you have foreign accounts over $10,000. The requirement came from the 1970 Bank Secrecy Act, and the purpose of the FBAR was to catch all these criminals engaging in drug trafficking and drug smuggling. And those convictions were a little hard to get, and so Congress gave the Treasury Department a little hand by passing this law. Now, they didn't make any new crime, but what they did was they created civil penalties, a civil penalty structure that had a very low burden of proof, but the results would be a fiscal death penalty. And it works like this. An FBAR penalty, if you don't report the existence of that account to the U.S. Treasury, you could be assessed a 50% penalty that's based on the account's value. Now, that can be assessed multiple times. In most cases, the IRS would look for a 6-year period. So you could see that that would be 3 times the account value. So that was really a form that was intended to give the Treasury Department some leverage to really go after some of the sophisticated criminals. Well, that's what was supposed to happen. What has happened recently is the IRS has dusted off this old form and applied it to a whole bunch of people the law was not intended to punish, especially those who are dual citizens or expatriates who had no idea that they needed to report their foreign income and their foreign accounts. The IRS has come up with an amnesty program, and it's our job to allow people to inform people that typically that's their best option. You know, the IRS loves soft targets. So that's the way to minimize the penalties you have. If you have an outstanding FBAR obligation, you could certainly have difficulties getting a green card or permanent status. There's also a recent Supreme Court case of a Japanese couple who was deported for tax compliance. That just happened last year. So it's something you have to have if you want to stay in this country. You have to have all your taxes in order. You're going to hire an IRS tax attorney. The last thing you need is a new problem. You have a problem with the IRS. The last problem you want is a problem with an attorney who's sending you bills that you can't believe are due. And that's why we refuse to work on an hourly basis. We do enough of this work where we know what we have to charge in order to make the desired profit we want. You know, these FBAR issues are quite complicated, and again, here we are, people are feeling a very vulnerable position. So there's a lot of bad advice given out there from CPAs and attorneys who tell people to do something incorrect, and that is not to disclose the accounts to the IRS. And that's just something that all you're doing is punting the problem down the line. Here's the thing to think about. Because in order to enter into the FBAR amnesty program, you're going to have to pay something to the IRS. And you're also going to have to pay an attorney fee as well. So you really need to justify that expense to yourself. So think of it like this. What's the whole purpose of having your bank accounts? What's the whole purpose about saving money? It's to provide security for your future, right? Okay. So your accounts are supposed to provide you security for your future. However, if you don't disclose or disclose improperly, all you're doing is creating a liability down the line. The IRS works really slowly, but when they do, they devastate you. So it could be years down the line. At one point you might think you have $2 million in a bank account. Turns out, years later, the IRS wipes you out. You have nothing. So the very thing you're trying to do, create an asset, has in fact turned into a liability. And that's why you have to understand the scoreboard. Some attorneys charge a flat fee, and after you figure it out, and this happens in Florida a lot, that you find out that they're not doing the job, they'll hang on to your entire retainer. That's the law in Florida. So you should be very careful about an hourly rate. Why are they charging that hourly rate? What justifies it? Is there any cap that they're going to give you? Or are you just walking into an endless liability? Look, I've seen a lot of attorney fees, especially some of the larger firms, where they're just basically looking at the client as a cash cow, that they know the client is rather price insensitive, and plus this is a brand new area of law that who's going to question the time that they spent on it. So it's something where somebody should be able to quote you a flat fee, give you a range of fees for the scope of the work. Otherwise, who's to say they know what they're doing? We all are ruled by the IRS. We have to do what they want us to do. That's not to say we can't find an optimum resolution out of it.
When you need a lifeline, contact irsmedic.com. irsmedic.com.